Hi guys. Today we're going to be talking about gesture drawing. Our objectives are demonstrate knowledge in the proper proportions of the human form, develop skill drawing a variety of gestures of the human form with accurate proportions and dynamic lines, and develop skill in simplifying gestures and human form into their essence. Our first word worth knowing is proportion. Proportion is a principle of design that refers to the relationship of one part to another or the whole in respect to size. So this could be about anything in art. So the size of a rabbit to, I don't know, a horse in your drawing, or a building, one building to another. But for us, we're going to be talking specifically about the figure. So in the figure, an average person is generally 7.5 heads tall, including the head. An ideal figure is drawn at 8 heads tall. So you have a little bit of leeway there, but as you're drawing your figure, you want to make sure if you want it accurate, so you're going to use the head as the measurement and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to make sure you're getting it approximate. And of course, everybody's a little bit different, so this is just general. Our second word worth knowing is line of action. A line of action is a curved line that defines the direction and motion of a figure's pose. So establishing the line of action makes it easier to compose dynamic poses. So what is gesture drawing? It's an expressive and energetic drawing portraying the form with quick lines that explore the subject. This is really used a lot in animation and comic books, anything like that. It usually starts with a dynamic gesture drawing to capture the essence of that character, but we also use it in other types of figure drawing. So gesture drawing has no details, no outlines, action poses, and it's created in a short period of time. So think 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, any longer than that, and then you're going to be starting to add details, which isn't really a gesture drawing. So the basics of building a gesture drawing. You first want to establish that line of action. You're going to establish shapes for the head, rib cage, and pelvis. Add pivot points, add gestural lines and cross contour to create the feel of dynamic movement, and then use loose free lines of varying width and intensity. And depending on the medium you're using, whether it's charcoal or pencil, your line width and the intensity are going to be a little bit different. And then as you draw, you want to start light, and then as you're confident with that line, you want that line there, you add it, you make it a little bit darker. So you always start dark to light with these. Or light to dark, excuse me. So you want to start with your line of action. So there are some examples on the left of a line of action. So summarizing that pose. So it should just be one curved line. It should not be a squiggly line, and it should not be a straight line. So it should be one just curved line. So you want to summarize the direction and motion of a figure's pose. And depending on the pose, this can be a little bit challenging. So with the gentleman that's standing up, this was my line of action. For the basketball player, I use more of like a C line because overall I just saw this C of his bending pose. And this one's a little more challenging because I'm looking at him from the side. So second, you're going to fill out the body. So the head, the rib cage, and the pelvis. So you're going to add 3 ovals. I will also say some people do boxes. There's other methods to this. So this is not like canon. You can study other teachers and you could do it different ways, but this is just how I do it. You're going to keep the rib cage and pelvis separate. That is key though. Do not just draw one box for both. The rib cage and the pelvis are 2 separate things. So if I'm filling out the head, rib cage, and pelvis on these 2 gentlemen, so here I'm looking straight on, so I see it here, and then his pelvis is just a little bit off. On the basketball player, so I'm thinking about this is a side pose, so it's a little bit different. So his rib cage is here, and it's kind of overlapped with where his pelvis is in space. So remember, 3 separate parts. And then keeping these separate is critical to having a really nice, dynamic, accurate pose because these 2 things move separately. It's not just a box. Then once you establish those 3 circles or 3 ovals, then you're going to add your major pivot points. So where are you bendy, right? So the shoulders, the elbow, the wrist, hip socket, knees, ankles. So you can do this with little circles. You can do this with dots. You can fill it in with lines. There's a lot of ways to do this. And I encourage you guys to seek out other YouTube channels with people that are a lot more experienced with this than me. But this is just how I've learned. So here are my 2 examples. So I'm just adding dots with lines. So the dots are where the bends are. And then you can see here it's a little more complicated because I'm looking at him from the side. And then if I take away the picture, you can see I kind of have like a stick figure-y kind of thing left. So I'm building this skeleton that I'm going to build my overall drawing on. So putting it together. Here is an example of my drawing of the gentleman that is standing. So there's my line of action. I added the head, rib cage, and pelvis. I added my pivot points. And then I started drawing the shapes that I see. This is about a 2 to 3 minute drawing, if that. So it's a little bit long, but it doesn't matter. It overall captures that pose, okay, fairly well, right? You can match this. So I'm not looking for super accurate proportions. I just want you to capture the essence of that pose. And the more you do this, the better you're going to get, like anything else. So for your practice, I want you to draw a minimum of 10 different gestures. Minimum. More is always better. So you want to draw them at least a quarter the size of the paper. Don't do little tiny drawings, especially because we're going to be using these for other things. You should have varied poses. So don't just do the same pose over and over and over again. Each gesture drawing should take about 2 to 5 minutes, so use a timer so you really know you're spending that time, and also so you know you're not spending too much time. So you really get in the habit of 2 to 5 minutes and you're done. And half the poses should be from real life. So you could go into the lunchroom, you could have a classmate pose for you, you can have someone pose for you at home. However you want to do it, but half should really be from real life instead of just looking at a flat reference. And this will definitely make you better. And then when you are done, check in with me so I can give you some feedback. And I can't wait to see your drawings. I'm excited. Bye, guys. And here are some of my examples.